Hello, everyone. Hello, good evening, very good evening to all of you, and welcome to the Lockdown Learning, which is an initiative started by Salesforce Hulk to help you guys learn Salesforce, specifically Salesforce development in lockdown duration, which is happening in like during the times of COVID-19 pandemic, and it's just an initiative in which we are working hard, or we are taking this lockdown duration as an opportunity to learn and grow into the Salesforce ecosystem. So yeah, and this is day 6. Is it day 6, guys? Is it day 6 or which day is it is? Day 4. Oh no, it's day. So we started on 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and this is 8th. This is 5th. Day 5th, right? So it's day 5th of lockdown learning series inside Salesforce Hulk, and today's topic is governor limits and batch apex, which is again a very important topic. But before than that, I just want to announce the winner of the challenge for day 3, I guess. Yeah, day 3 or day 4. And by the way, for day 4, we have already posted the challenge in the description of the video for day 4. So please go over there and check that out. Meanwhile, I'll just show you who is the winner for where's community dashboard. Let's just go to community. Day 5, right? Good evening, everyone. So yeah, it was Kritik Raj Srinivasan who won the day 3 challenge. He was the first one to post the answer of the challenge that we gave. So congratulations to you, Kritik Raj. Now let's move ahead with today's topic. It's a very important topic that I want to explain you. And let's start with governor limits, right? It's a very easy topic to understand. But what happens is when you educate yourself so much into the technical field, you start using terms in such a technical manner that people are not able to the people who are trying to learn that same thing are not able to relate with what you're trying to explain, and that is the problem. So if you're gonna find any of the um, resources out there for governance limits, it's going to be very technical, and it might be very difficult for you. I'll sum it up in a very easy way, so that you are able to understand it very well, and yeah, I mean, learn it very easily. So let's talk about Salesforce for a while, right? Salesforce is a cloud computing based platform, or a CRM, or a, yeah, I mean, it's a company moreover, but it's cloud computing. And when we say it is cloud computing, that means it has got multi-tenant, oh sorry, tenant architecture, right? Now let me explain it to you what exactly multi-tenant architecture in a cloud computing platform means. It's very easy. It's not that difficult. You just need to imagine an apartment, right? There is an apartment. Oh, I don't know. Please don't mind my drawing skills. So yeah, so there's an apartment, and there are different flats in here. So we've got 8 flats over here, and there is a, let's say, tank at the top. Water tank I'm talking about, right? This is the water tank. So when we talk about multi-tenant, it basically means that the property is shared between multiple tenants. So when you talk about an apartment, like the flats or the property or the complete infrastructure is being shared with different people. So the roof for this person is the floor of, so the roof for this person is the floor for this person. Similarly, the roof for this person is the floor for this person. Yeah, and they're sharing the amenities which are provided over there. That, like, every flat does not have their own water tank. They are actually sharing the water from a global water tank that they have, that we can consider as a resource which is available for the people who are living in that particular apartment. And whenever a resource is global, that means if there is a single resource which a lot of people are sharing with each other, yeah, or a lot of people are using, then that means they all are sharing it, right? So this water tank, or the water inside this water tank, is basically the resource, and it is being shared by all the tenants in the different or in the respective flats. But imagine a situation in which the person in this particular flat uses all of the water, right? Then in that case, this flat, this one, or the people who are living in these flats are gonna starve, right? Yeah, they're gonna be thirsty. They'll not be having water to drink. They'll not be having water to take a shower. They'll not be having water to do anything. So in that case, what do you think will be the optimal solution? What the person who manages this apartment or who owns this apartment should do? What they should do, right? Sounds slow. Is my audio slow? I just want to ask you guys one thing. Is my audio, video, everything is clearly visible and audible, and there is no echo problem? Give me a thumbs up or say yeah, say perfect if it's all right. Is it good? Perfect. 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 Everything perfect. Great. Cool. So yeah, it's very simple. If this water is being shared with different people, then what this person should do in order to ensure that everyone is getting the water equally and according to their needs, so that there is not a monopolization of the resource, which is water in this case. So in this case, this person, what it does is, like like this person adds a meter over here, which keeps a check that per day, let's say they'll only be able to use 100 liters of water, and if they're trying to use more than 100 liters, then the water should be blocked into their apartment or into their flat. So that is actually putting a limit to the utilization of a resource, which is water in here, right? Limit on the utilization of a resource, right? It's that simple. So if you talk about putting a limit on the utilization of a resource, which is shared between multiple people, then in that case, you'll be able to maintain sufficient water for every flat which is there, right? And this is exactly what Salesforce does when it comes to applying governor limits onto different orgs. That's how easy it is, right? So Salesforce has got a single infrastructure. By infrastructure, I mean a single hardware or server, or I would not say a single hardware or a single, server or something like that, because that might go wrong. But yeah, let's talk about a single infrastructure that is being shared between different orgs, right? You've got an org, I've got an org. There are multiple other orgs as well. So what it does, what Salesforce has does, or Salesforce has placed governor limits in order, for like in order to protect the orgs from, or in order to stop the orgs from utilizing all of their resources or monopolizing all the resources. Like let's say if this org is using like the complete capacity of the processor at one time, then this org and this org will starve for the processing unit, right? So in this case, what Salesforce has done is Salesforce has implemented, or Salesforce has placed governor limits which keeps the check of the utilization of the resources. That is exactly what it does. That's it. This is how easy it is, right? So yeah, that's basically what governor limits are. And now this is the easiest explanation, or the most easy, yeah, easiest explanation that you can get of governor limits out there. Like, yeah. And in order to check what exactly these governor limits are, so obviously in Salesforce, Salesforce is not a person who is managing an apartment and supplying water as a resource. So it is providing computing resources as a resource. Then how and where it has placed some limits, and how as a developer we need to be aware about it, and we need to take care of it so that it doesn't impact the code that we have written in our org. Yeah, that's great, Sunali, if you are able to understand governor limits. We wish that you understand the whole Salesforce development like this very soon. Okay, so yeah. So now let's talk about the governor limits, right? So there are different governor limits that Salesforce has like placed. There you go. Just go on to developer.salesforce.com and search for the governor limits, right? And you'll get it in the documentation. It gets updated again and again. So you need to. So that's the reason I'm not showing you it into a particular document, something like that, curated by me. I'm just taking you to the documentation of Salesforce itself, so that you can get the exact figure about it. Okay, so over here you go. So there are different types of governor limits that are there, like some on Apex transactions, some on execution of some on Apex transaction, and in Apex transaction there are like yeah, this is a simple example. Let's go to this one. Yeah. So there are different types of governor limits which are there. So this is the first one, per transaction Apex limits. Per transaction basically means whenever you write down a particular code, or whenever you execute a particular code, like let's say there is a, let me open something. So there is this class that you have executed, and until and unless the program or the method that you have executed inside this particular class gets over, this will be considered as per transaction. So what all things you'll be able to do in per transaction is all written in here. So now let's talk about it. So yesterday some people asked me, or yesterday or day before yesterday, some people asked me that how many SQL queries can we write down in a particular program. So when you're talking about executing a program in a synchronous format, then you can write down 100 SQL queries in a single transaction, and the records, the maximum records that an SQL query can fetch, uh, or will be able to fetch in a single SQL query will be 50,000. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say if you have written down, oh sorry, select name from account. So if you'll execute this code, and if you'll simply execute this code, and the records which are there into the account object are more than 50,000, then in this case there'll be a problem, right? It will not be able to give you all the records which are there into the database of account object. But if the records which are there into account object are less than 50,000, then the query will work absolutely fine. There'll be no problem with that. I'm not audible. Am I audible to everyone? There is someone saying I'm not audible. Cool. So now similarly for SQL queries, how many SQL queries SL queries you can execute? 20. Similarly, how many records will you be able to retrieve with the help of a single SOSL query? So this is the case. And when you talk about SOQL queries, it's the total number of records that you'll be able to fetch in per transaction, not in a single query, by the way. So that's what it is. And with the help of database.query locator, you'll be able to have 10,000 records. And there are different other governor limits which are also placed over here. I'll not get into all of this. You just go through it one by one, and you'll be able to understand it. And you actually do not need to understand all the governor limits at once. With time, you'll be able to understand most of them, or the ones which are actually required, or the ones which are actually used a lot of time, or the most of the time. So that's what the case is. When it comes to this per transaction apex limits, this is something which is important, or which will be using a lot of time. So make sure to read all of these one by one. With that, I think I should move on from governor limits to the next topic, which is very very important, and that is batch apex. So let's move. If more than 50K, how to fetch the data from DB? I'm gonna tell you that, Veera Babu. I'm just like I'm about to tell you that over here right now. So the answer is batch apex. If you want to fetch more than 50,000 records, then you're gonna use batch apex, and that's exactly what we are about to discuss. So we use limit keyboard in query. It's not keyboard, limit keyword, Sumit. Yeah, you are absolutely right. I think it's a typo. Limit keyword. That is the reason we use limit keyword in SQL queries, because it might reach to the governor limits, and if the governor limits are hit, then the program will get halt. Right? That's what's gonna happen. Do videos on data loader. I think I've already posted a video on data loader. Please do check that out. So yeah, that's it. Batch apex Murali. That's the answer. Now let's talk about batch apex, right? It's very simple. Batch, with the help of batch apex, you'll be able to execute a particular code on more than 50,000 records, or more than like you'll be able to execute a lot of. I mean, you'll be able to execute. What should I say? A procedure, where you'll be able to execute a procedure or a program onto n number of records. So that's what you'll be able to do. But before than that, I think I skipped one thing. When it you talk about DML statements and database methods as well, you'll not be able to execute more than 150 DML statements in a single transaction. So that's also one of the limits. So if there is a program which is big and you want to execute it in multiple chunks as well, then in that case you'll go with batch apex option. So that's what you'll be able to do. So now let's talk about it. Let's say we have, so in this case we have got lead object, right? And lead object has got almost like 200,000, that's almost 2 lakh records inside our database, right? This is the number of, like, yeah, we've got 200,000 records inside our database, and we want to update a field's value, whatever, like there is let's say there is like, Satyajit, do you even understand what have you written down? Like, can you please spell it, like how many millions, billions, or trillions does it mean? Yeah, coming back to this, if let's say there are, in your database you've got 200,000 records, and you want to like you want to change a field's value on each of the record. You want to update all of the records, all of the lead objects record inside your database, all the 200K ones. So if you'll be going and trying to create a simple Apex class, and if you'll fetch all of the records, and if you'll try to update them all into adding it into a list and adding it into a for each loop, and then in like hitting the DML operation, you'll not be able to do that. It will reach the governor limits, and as soon as it will reach the governor limits, it will halt with an error. Right, the program's execution will end, and nothing will happen to the records which are there into the database. So in this situation, what do you think we should do? So, like in situations like this, batch apex is the solution which Salesforce has given us, which we can use in order to update or insert or manipulate the data or the database without even hitting the governor limits. So that is something that we'll be able to do with the help of batch apex. And now let me tell you how we will be able to do it with batch apex. So let's say if there are 200,000 records in the lead object and we do not want the governor limits to hit, then with the help of batch apex class, we'll be able to divide it into chunks. And what I mean by that is, all these records will get divided into chunks, like n number of. and the operation that you want to do onto onto all of the records will now get executed in chunks. Like let's say there is a field in lead annual revenue, and you want to update that annual revenue's value to 0 for every lead, right? That's what you want to do. So it will not perform this operation onto all of these 2 lakh records at once, but instead what it will do is it will do this operation onto initial 2000 records, which is the first chunk first, and then it will like update it into the database. Then it will pick up the second one, then update those 2000 records and send it to the database. Then we'll do it on the third one, and then on the fourth one, and then like this it will do it on all of the records, like all like all the 2 lakh records which are there into the lead object. So with the help of batch apex, you will be able to do a particular operation into the records of the database in chunks, right? That is something that we'll be able to do. Yeah, that's what I mean by that. So with the help of batch apex, we'll be able to we'll be able to process, or we'll be able to do operation onto like a lot of records, like the bulk data. That's the term I think I should use. If you want to perform an operation onto bulk data, batch apex is the solution for you. You just need to create a batch apex class, with the help of which you'll be able to divide the data on which you want to execute the process into chunks, and then we'll perform those operation onto a chunk, like onto chunks one by one. That's exactly what you'll be able to do. I hope you got it. Now, without wasting any further time, I think I should just go and show you how to create a batch apex class. So like, let's say number one thing. Yeah, I should just, what does a transaction means? A transaction means, very good question, Nikhil. I think I should answer this. A transaction is like, let's say, there is a method in this particular class, method 1 that you've called. And in this method 1, there is a like set of lines or set of executable statements that which are written down. And the second statement calls a function from another class, which is like method 2, right? And which has also got some executable statements. And in the fifth line of this method 2, it calls another method of the same class, which is method 3 over here. So now a per transaction basically means, since the moment the execution of method 1 got started, and when it called method 2, and when the method 2 called method 3, and when method 3 got completed, and after the completion of this, it went back again to this statement, and then it completed the method 2, and when the method 2 got completed, and it went back to method 1, and when it completed the rest of the executable statements which are there in the method 1, and when the method 1 gets terminated, like that means a complete transaction, or that means a single execution of a particular statement, yeah, which initiated this transaction got terminated. So this is a whole transaction. That's what I mean by a transaction. I hope you got this. One complete operation. Yeah. And I don't know what you mean by on single unit. Um, but yeah, that's what it is. Synchronous, it will execute at the time, while asynchronous means when Salesforce resource is available, it will execute at that time. You know the answer. Why are you asking this question? To test my knowledge or what? So yeah, that's what the case is. Now, let me tell you the syntax on how to create a batch apex class, right? So it's very easy. You just need to create a class, and you just need to write down implements database dot batchable. That's what you need to write down, and the operation that you want to perform is on to S objects. So you just need to pass the S object as a parameter in here, and just save this. So when you'll be saving this particular class, there'll be a problem that you'll get over here. Let's see what that problem is. So, and if for some of the guys who do not know what implements and this database.batchable is, so database.batchable is basically an interface which you need to implement into the class which you want to make a batch apex class. And also there is one thing that we have left. We need to make this class as global, right? That's something that we need to do as well. So yeah, Global class test implements database.batchable as object, and yeah, inside this, like if I'll still save this, it'll get some error, and let's see what that error is. So the error is class test must implement the method system.iterable database.batchable.start, another method database.batchable.execute, database.batchable.finish. So that's what it is saying. So now let me tell you what exactly that means. So there are three methods inside this database.batchable interface, and let's talk about interface. If you're someone who doesn't understand what exactly an interface is similar to a class, but the methods which are defined inside an interface does not have a definition. But the class which implements that particular interface needs to define the methods which are there into the interface. So this database.batchable interface includes three methods, which are start, execute, and finish. So these are the three methods. Now let me tell you what is the significance of all of these three methods. Start is basically used to initialize the records or initialize the data on which you want to perform that operation. Execute is basically like used or signifies, yeah, basically used to define the operation that you want to perform onto the data. Finish is used to finish is used to execute. Finish gets executed at the end of the batch apex transaction, or at the end of the batch classes execution, when the execute method has got executed onto each of the chunk, then only the finish method will get executed. So that's exactly what is going to happen. So now let me tell it to you with the help of a simple example, right? So yeah, this is a batch apex class. This is start, this is execute, and this is finish. So when you'll execute this batch apex class, the first method that will get executed will be start, and it will initialize the data onto which we want to perform an operation, and this method will run only one time for the whole transaction, right? Let's talk about execute. So start method will initialize the data and get the data ready, and it will pass on the chunks which are created by it to execute method again and again. So this will be the second method that will get executed, and it will get executed n times, where n is the number of chunks that we have for the data. And once the execute method got executed for all of the chunks, then at the end of this batch apex program, finish method will get executed for one time. So whatever you want to do post the complete operation of the batch apex class, you can just write it down into the finish method. Class have two methods, they didn't call between them, so they executed separately. Means, so if they didn't call each other, then how did they got executed separately? So these are two different transactions. If you're talking about, if you're calling a method one in another statement and calling method two in another statement, which are not at all related to a single transaction, then it will not be considered as a single transaction. So that's what it's going to be. So yeah, that's basically what it is. Now this is the significance of start, execute, and finish. I hope you got it. Now let me just go back and create, or let's just show you the code which I have already got for this particular class. So I've created a lead update lead batch class, which is a batch apex class, and please write it down or note it down that this class needs to be global. It like the batch classes always needs to be global, and it always implements database.batchable, right, interface. That's what it does. This schedulable thing which is written down over here, I'll explain it to you a bit later, but for now let's understand this only, right? And this is the syntax of the start method. Global database.query locator like space start bracket database.batchable context bc, and what it is doing is, with the help of this get query locator method, we have passed a query which is select annual revenue from lead. So this will give all the 2 lakh records that I've been talking about, and this return database.get query locator will create chunks of the data which we'll get from here, and with the help of this batchable context BC, which we are getting as a reference, we are again passing the same thing over here. We'll get the chunks into the execute method with the help of this batchable context and this L list, of course. So yeah, so now this is the start, this is the syntax of the start method, and this is the syntax, or this is the signature of the execute method. It will have database.batchable context as a parameter, which will include like which batch class we are talking about, and then the list of data, or list of this list will basically include the chunk on which we want to execute that particular operation. And inside this execute method, we can just write down whatever operation we want to perform on that data, right? So what I've done over here is I've like if the annual revenue is equals to null, then annual revenue should get updated to a million. Is it a million or is it 100,000? I think it's a million. It should get updated to a million. And once it is done for all of the records which are there in this particular list, update this list, right? If we would have just like queried the records in here, like if I would have just done it like that, where L list is equals to like this, then in that case the problem would have been like if this lead object will return more than like 50,000 records or something like that, this will not be able to, this will hit the governor limit, and that's a problem. And again one more thing, if you're trying to call the update method in a single transaction for a lot of times, then also it will hit the governor limit. So the best way of doing this or performing a bulk data operation is to go with the batch apex thing, or with the batch apex class concept. So that's what it is. I think I should just make it 2 million for everyone. Wherever there is a million, we should update it to 2 million. That's what we are trying to do. Now let's see the lead records which are there into the database. Please take like operator in SQL. How to write SQL using like. I'll not be discussing that, Daksh. Sorry. You can just write it down in the comments. Anyone within our Salesforce Hulk community will be able to answer that. Can anyone help Daksh Khanna understand how to write down SQL using like? Because I'll not be able to do that because I'm running short of time. Give me a second. मेरा leads है. Yeah, there it is. So the annual revenue is okay. Is it already 2 million or what? Looks like. Let's make it 3 million then. 3 million if it is not equals to null. So if it is not equals to null, we'll just make it 3 million. That's the operation that you want to do. It doesn't matter what operation you're doing over here. I'm just trying to explain you how to actually write down a batch apex class. Now inside, so this is all what you need to write down in the execute method, and after this execute method you can just write down finish method, and inside finish method what I have done is again, this is the syntax or the signature of finish method. If you don't want to write down anything, you can just keep it blank. But what I've done with this particular code is it will send me an email, and to send an email with the help of apex code, this is the syntax, right? Messaging.single message mail and everything. Just ignore it. Just think that this is let me just do it this way. So inside this global finish, what I've written down is basically the code which will send an email to me at shreysfdc@gmail.com or salesforce@gmail.com stating that the batch job is completed whenever the batch job will get completed. So that's what it is. And this schedulable context, I think I should leave it for a while. So yeah, that's how you need to write down a batch apex class. And now to execute this batch apex, there is a special syntax that you have to write down. So what you need to do is you need to first create an object of this particular class. Whatever the name of the class is, the name of the class is this, right? So we'll just copy this and we'll create an object of it. Oh, sorry. Database dot execute batch, right? That's what we're gonna do, and we're just gonna write down ulb inside it, which is the reference of the class, right? Yeah. And we're just gonna hit execute. In order to execute a batch apex, this is the syntax that we write down, or this is the code that we write down. So now let's just go to leads first for a while. See, there are 20 items. Now all open leads. Currently I do not have bulk data, so please don't think that it's gonna create multiple chunks. If I would have if I would have had if I should have had like more than, or if I should have had bulk data into the lead object, or many records into the lead object, it should have created the chunks for it, and then would have done it in the way. But anyway, let's execute it. It got executed. Let's see when the annual revenue will get updated. So see, the annual revenue for everyone got updated. It's 3 million now instead of 2 million. So this is how your batch apex like class gets created and gets executed. So that's one thing. Now I'm gonna also explain you that how you can actually schedule a batch apex class. What I mean by schedule is like every day in the morning 7 a.m. every day in the morning 7 a.m. you want to like do an operation onto all of the records which are there into lead. Or let's say every Monday you want to do particular operation onto all of the records or bulk records, like every Monday 8 a.m. you want to do bulk data operation, and you want to schedule it. You just want to schedule it. You don't want to do it again and again by writing that code. You want to schedule it, right? Then I'm going to explain you that how to schedule a batch apex class as well. So for that, all what you need to do is you just need to implement another interface which is called as schedulable, right? After implementing schedulable, what do we call it? Yeah, after implementing schedulable interface as well, you just have to add another method, and that method would be global void execute. But the reference or the parameter for this execute will be different from the parameter of the execute which we got from database.batchable context, or the batchable interface one. Can anyone tell me if a method like if the method has the same name but different arguments, what do we call it? Anybody in the comment section? So Samiksha, in order to understand which database operations got executed and which database operations didn't got executed, I would suggest you to go check out database class and its result methods, or its result class and methods. Over there you'll find the way with the help of which you'll be able to understand which records, like in which records the operation got successful and in which record the operation got failed. You'll be able to get that information inside your code itself. Method overloading, polymorphism. No, it's not polymorphism for sure. It's method overloading. Yeah. Overriding or overloading, guys? Method overloading or overriding? Overloading. Okay, so it's overloading. It's not overriding. Overriding happens when one class is extending another class. So that's what happens. So yeah, again, you just need to create this method with this particular syntax and write down the code with the help of which you'll execute the batch apex. And it's if you'll see that this is the same code which we written down to execute this batch apex class, or which you wrote down, whatever you want to call it grammatically. But yeah, so you just need to write it down over here and just save this. Now to schedule this batch apex class for every morning, let's say for every day morning 7 p.m 7 a.m we want to do this, and in that case I'm just going to go to setup, and inside setup I'm going to just write down jobs, let's say scheduled jobs or scheduled, whatever you want to say it. Sorry, apex jobs was it. Give me a second. We just need to go to apex classes, sorry, and in like at the top of it we'll get schedule apex button over here. If you can't see it, let me zoom it. This is schedule apex, so hit that. Yeah, and just write down update lead records batch, and let's search the class. So we've got two classes, update lead batch and lead update batch. Which one is ours? Ours is update lead batch, so let's select that one. Update lead batch. And if you want to run it weekly on Sundays as well as on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Saturday, Sunday. I know what's happening to my vocabulary and my speech, but please try to understand. It's lockdown, right? Or if you want to do it monthly, like let's say if you want to do it monthly on first of every month, that's what you want to do it on, and you want to start it on like 8th April 2020 to if you want to run it for a month, or let's say if you want to run it for 2 months till July, and start time would be 7 a.m. in the morning. Let's just save it. So it will automatically get executed on the first of every month, and in order to check whether this gets executed or not, just go to jobs, and like inside scheduled jobs or scheduled jobs, you'll get it over here. So the next execution will be on 1st of April 2020 7 a.m. That's how you can schedule a batch apex class. So with this I think I should wrap up with today's session. It's almost time. Now it's time for a little Q&A. I hope and I wish that you guys were able to understand governor limits and batch apex in the best way possible. I tried my best. If you still have any questions, please keep them coming. I've got 2 minutes to wrap up today's session. I've got something. So yeah, that's what the case is. Please please let your questions come in. Okay, so tomorrow's agenda, I'm not clear what I want to keep it. Can we get some interview questions in development? Interview questions and stuff like that, I'll keep it later. I think I'll keep some topic, how to know email part is finished method. Okay, email. Let's check whether we got the email or not. Real scenarios to use batch Apex. Whenever you want to execute a lot of methods, and so here it is. See the email. 8:37 p.m. If you guys can see over here, we got this at 8:37 p.m. And here it is. Hey, the batch job is you started is successfully executed. Now go home and relax. Yeah. So yeah, you got the email. Give me a second. So there are a lot of real scenarios of batch Apex. This is something that developers write down a lot of times because you want to do a lot of bulk operations onto your data or bulk data operations. So for every bulk data operation, you'll be using batch Apex only. Wanted to learn development from the scratch from your two labs. There are like on Salesforce Hulk, I've created like the complete series now at least to learn Salesforce development. And if you want to reach out to S2 Labs, go ahead and do that. Suman, I don't think that that's possible. Good, all concepts understand. Tomorrow's class is the same time. Every day the class will be at 8 p.m. Synchronous or asynchronous, please. Synchronous and asynchronous. It's simple. Like synchronous means once the execution of a particular program gets started, it will until unless it gets executed completely, it will not halt or it will not go in the hold position for any time. But when you talk about asynchronous, whenever the resources are available, then only the program or the execution, yeah, or the program will get executed. That's the easiest way I can explain it. At a time, 5 jobs will run. Explain how to write email class. Email class, you can just copy the code. It's simple. It's very simple. It's shown in here. And even if you're gonna write down how to write email class on Google, you'll get it. In coming days, please provide real-time project. Also want to learn full life cycle. I think okay. Let me try. Real-time scenario of batch class. I think I'll be able to give you a challenge for that as well. Write logic and finish. Yeah. Tomorrow's topic. I'm not sure what tomorrow's topic can be. Trigger for tomorrow. Yeah, we can go ahead with that. Let's make trigger. Let's do trigger then. For tomorrow, the topic would be trigger. For all of your friends who struggle with triggers in Apex, ask them to join tomorrow's session. It's going to be very interactive, very engaging, and there's going to be a lot of learning in the lockdown learning with Salesforce Hulk. Great. Perfect. So with that, I think I should just wrap up today's session. Thank you so much, all of you, for attending, and thank you so much, all of you, for attending today's session. The challenge for today's video will also get posted very soon, and meanwhile, just go to the challenge that we posted for yesterday's video for the DML statement 1 and try to win that because we are actually making a lot of junior hulks that we haven't done it yet. We have not made a lot of junior hulks. If you do not know what junior hulk is basically someone who gets the Salesforce Hulk T-shirt and who will get a feature on our like social media handles, and junior hulk will also what we will also get a badge of Salesforce Hulk and Junior Hulk, which they'll be able to add it on their laptops or their stuff. So that's something that might happen to you as well. You can be the next Junior Hulk. So please go and do that challenge. Till then, I think I should just see you tomorrow. You have great teaching skills. Thank you so much, Rishabh. Means a lot. Great. See you. Bye bye.